We don't need no thought control. No dark sarcasm in the classroom. Teacher, leave them kids alone. In the wall. All in all, you're just another brick in the wall.
Here's the history of the Common Core. In 2009, the National Governors Association and the Council of Chief State School Officers partnered with Achieve, Inc., a nonprofit that received millions of funding from the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. Thus, the initiative seemed to spring from states when in reality it was contrived by an insular group of educational testing executives with only 2 academic content specialists. Neither specialist approved the final standards, and the English consultant Dr. Sandra Stotsky publicly stated she felt the standards left students with an empty skill set lacking literary knowledge. While educators and administrators were later included in the validation committee and feedback groups, they did not play a role in the actual drafting of the standards. The product is a, quote, rigorous preparation for career and college, yet many educators agree that rigorous is a buzzword. These standards aren't rigorous, just different, designed for an industrial model of school. Nevertheless, Common Core emerged. Keep in mind the specific standards were never voted upon by Congress, the Department of Education, state or local governments, yet their implementation was approved by 49 states and territories. The president essentially bribed states into implementation via Race to the Top, offering $4.35 billion taxpayer dollars to participating states, $500 million of which went to Tennessee. And much like No Child Left Behind, the program promises national testing and a one-size-fits-all education because, hey, it worked really well the first time. While I do admire some aspects of the core, such as fewer standards and an emphasis on application and writing, it's not going to fix our academic deficit. If nothing else, these standards are a glowing conflict of interest, and they lack the research they allegedly received. And most importantly, the standards illustrate a mistrust of teachers, something I believe this county has already felt for a while.
Back off, man. I'm a scientist.
We don't need no education.
Under the new Common Core, even if they said 3 times 4 was 11, if they were able to explain their reasoning and explain how they came up with their answer really in words and in oral explanations, and they showed it in the picture, but they just got the final number wrong, we're really more focusing on the how and the
Going to be correcting them.
Oh, absolutely, right? Absolutely. We want our students to compute correctly, but the emphasis is really moving more towards the explanation.
Mr. Landlord.
Yeah?
What are you smoking, an army blanket?
Never mind about that. You owe me room rent.
All right, here's $28.
$28, fine. Just a minute. You owe me 13 weeks at $7 a week, and that happens to be a lot more than $28.
Well, that comes to $28.
Did you go to school?
Yes, sir.
Do you mean to say that you can prove that 7 times 13 is 28?
Well, it's got to be. Certainly it is, because Mr. Abbott and I, that's $28. That's what you get.
If you can prove it, I'll tell you what I'll do. I will give you the room rent for nothing.
You will?
But if you don't prove it, you owe me double the back rent. Is it a deal?
That's a deal.
Okay.
Do you happen to have any Crayola on there?
Crayola?
Never mind. I got it.
Oh, you have?
I got the Crayola. 7 into 28 is going to come out 13.
That's your way.
That's my way. And it's got to come out right. Now, first, I put down a 7.
Right.
Now, I'm going to divide the 7 into 28.
Yeah.
I put a 28 there.
Okay.
Isn't that cute? Now, here we go. 7 into 2. 7 will not go into 2.
It will not.
That's a very big 7 to push into that little bit of 2.
As you say it is.
We ain't gonna hurt that little 2, are we?
Of course you won't.
So we take the 2, open your hand.
Yes.
And I put that 2 right there for safekeeping. But don't drop it and don't lose it. Now, 7 into 8.
Once.
Once. I put the 1 over here, 1 over there. Now, we're gonna carry the 7 because it's very big and it's getting heavy on my shoulders, and I'm gonna drop the 7 under there. Now, 7 from 8.
Is 1.
Is 1. I put the 1 down there. Now it comes. Would you mind opening up your palm of your hand, please? Or would you like to use that 2? Open it up. Give me that 2. You've had it long enough. I'm going to put that 2 right there. Now, 7 into 21?
3 times.
That's right. 7 into 28? 13. Good enough?
Wait a minute. You have to prove this even better than that. You can prove it very easily by multiplication.
You mean you want me to emulsify it?
No, not multiply, multiply.
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 All right. Multiply it.
7 times 13
It's
prove
28.
it. Go ahead.
Now, first, we got to put down a 13, right?
Right.
There's a 13.
Times 7.
Times 7.
Right.
7 weeks times 13, right? 7 times 3?
21.
21. 7 times 1?
7.
7. 7 and 1?
8.
And 2 to carry. 28.
Now, wait a minute. I'm still not convinced. There's one sure way of proving this. One sure way, and that's by addition.
You want me to addition it up?
I want you to put 13 7 times on that wall and then draw a line and add them up.
You want me to put down 13 7 times?
That's right.
It's got to come out right. There's 1,
1,
2,
2,
3,
3,
4,
4,
5,
5,
6,
6,
7.
Wait a minute. What's the idea of spreading them out like that?
Well, it looks like a flock of seagulls going to hit the electric poles. Now we're going to add them up, right?
All right, go ahead.
Here we go. 3, 6,
Wait a
9.
minute. Let me do the adding this time.
Good. Come out right.
Well,
A 3, a 6, a 9.
Just a minute. I will do the adding. Then there'll be no mistake.
Yeah?
All right? $28 in. All right?
Sure.
Now.
Go ahead. If you had it up, go ahead.
3, 6, 9, 12, 15, 18, 21.
22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28.
Coincidence? I think not.
Say, what's the gag?
You know, when we talk about history, we think in terms of Columbus discovering America. If you're like I was when I was a little kid growing up, why, Columbus discovered America, and we have a holiday on October the 12th every year that we celebrate the discovery of America. One day, I was traveling with my wife in Illinois, and she looked over at me and she said, well, would you like to visit one of the pyramids here in Illinois? And I said, pyramids? And she said, yes, there's about 7 or 8 of them here, and not far from here, just a few miles, is one of those big pyramids. And I said, well, who built it? And she said, well, nobody seems to know. And I said, well, how big is it? And she said, well, it's several hundred feet high, and it covers several acres. It's as big as the Great Pyramid of Egypt. And I was amazed. I'd never heard of such a thing. I said, here in Illinois, there's a pyramid? And she said, yes, not just 1, but 7 or 8. And I said, yeah, I got to see this. And so we drove off the main highway, and we drove a little while, and pretty soon here out in the middle of the flat lands of Illinois, rising on the horizon was this big hill. We drove over to the big hill. It was covered by brush and trees, and we went into the park. It's a state park. And paid our fee, and we walked in. I stood at the bottom of it, and I looked at this, and I said, why is it that I have been educated in America, went to the public school system, and here is a monument 400 feet high, sitting in the middle of a cornfield, covering about 15 or 20 acres of ground, a humongous mound of earth. And I never heard about it. And I'm 42 years old. Never heard about it.
Science. I can smell the chemicals.
Evolution is a dangerous philosophy because it's the foundation for racism. The idea that one race of people is superior to another comes from evolution. Here's Darwin's book, The Origin of Species. That's not the whole title. Here's the title of the book. The Origin of Species by Means of Natural Selection, or the Preservation of Favored Races in the Struggle for Life. Favored races. Now, Charlie, that's not politically correct. Oh, it was in 1859 when he wrote the book. We had slavery in America. Darwin thought natives were just advanced animals. Darwin said at some future period, not very distant as measured by centuries, the civilized races of man will almost certainly exterminate and replace the savage races. Darwin said, from the war of nature and famine and death, the most exalted object we're capable of conceiving, the production of higher animals, follows. Higher animals. Well, see, that was popular to say in 1859. Stephen Gould knew this was true. He said biological arguments for racism may have been common before 1850, but they increased by orders of magnitude following the acceptance of evolutionary theory. Huxley said, no rational man cognizant of the facts believes the average Negro is the equal, still less the superior, of the white man.
But the ramifications of this process do not stop at the ability to add, subtract, or spell. They go right to the heart of a vision for society that was laid out over a century ago, and perhaps most baldly articulated by President Woodrow Wilson himself in his 1909 address to the New York City High School Teachers Association, where he admitted, "We want one class of persons to have a liberal classical education, and we want another class of persons, a very much larger class of necessity, in every society, to forego the privileges of liberal education and fit themselves to perform specific, difficult manual tasks."
Today we celebrate the first glorious anniversary of the information purifications. We have created, for the first time in all history, a garden of pure ideology, where each bloom, secure from the pests of their communication, of course, is more powerful a weapon than any fleet or army on earth. We are one people, one cause. Our enemies shall with their own confusion shall prevail.
Coincidence? I think not!
Make the sentence less wordy by replacing the underlined words with a possessive noun phrase. The commands of government officials must be obeyed by all.
Junior, you get down this instant.
Father, I kind of agree with what he says. I mean, I don't live in a democracy.
Of course you do.
Well, not really. I live in a monarchy.
You live in a democracy. Now get down!
Coincidence? I think not!
Rigorous is a buzzword. These standards aren't rigorous, just different, designed for an industrial model of school.
Common Core is so reviled by teachers, students, education standards proponents, principals, and seemingly every other sector of society with a direct stake in them. Why are they being promoted so heavily? Where is the funding for this initiative coming from? Common Core has been developed with the direct support of the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, which has invested $173 million in the development of Common Core materials and promoting the initiative at the state level, and an estimated $2.3 billion in total funding related to Common Core standards development, including grants for the development of biometric bracelets that will monitor students' interest level.
Coincidence? I think not!
We are the music makers, and we are the dreamers of dreams.